I got the end of this game on the Belgium versus USA, which, you know, with this amount of time left, not looking good for Team USA on this one, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. I mean, they've made it pretty far in the tournament so far. Anyway, let's go ahead and do something fun and juicy, right? Like the Lover's Oracle, right off the bat. Why not? You might also see I'm wearing a little cooling necklace thing I got at the hardware store. Okay. It was less than $10. And this is like almost solid, this gel. And I didn't even put it in the freezer. I just put it in the refrigerator. And it had a nice cooling effect, right? And then I even did... I was saying nanu nanu to my dogs earlier. I mean, you know, have you ever had like just the top of your head where it's just sweating and sweating and sweating? I mean, this actually cools your scalp. It feels good. So, anyway. Yeah. Is it a horseshoe? Is it a necklace? Anyway. So, what did I say we were going to get into? The Lover's Oracle, okay? I really thought Team USA would have been able to score another goal by now, but I guess not. Maybe Belgium's just that good. You know what I mean? At least today, that's what they're proving, you know? So, I don't know about the individual players and whatnot, but okay. Ooh, this person's saying their life is a mess right now. Oi. Oi. Might need to do some work on that. Right? Will this pain ever stop? This person is saying. Hello there in the chat. Please do like the video if you are in the chat today, and be kind to others if you utilize the chat and follow the chat rules, guidelines that are posted when you start to click in that area on YouTube. You deserve better. Okay, so collective, it feels like this person is trying to communicate, and maybe that's why they rejected you. They said, I can't handle your love. So they were like, no, you deserve better in life than what they are or have been giving up until now, okay? And that's the thing, is like sometimes they're able to give it to somebody else, but not to you. It's just some, you know, it's just weird how it works, but that's part of moving on, growing, and, you know, processing things, okay? How could you ever forgive the mess they've made, collective? Okay, so maybe that's part of why they're saying that you deserve better, because of all the things that have happened. All right. They have hurt me, this person says. So maybe that's part of why they're saying that they made this mess, because, you know, they were following toxic patterns. But right now they feel lonely. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Belgium just scored another goal. Wow. I think that seals the deal, don't you? I no comprende. This person is saying they don't understand. So, that could be why their life's a mess, because they just don't understand things. Maybe they've not taken the time to go, you know, and do the root work. But they're like, they have this confidence about them. So that's part of why this message is coming through, right? Ooh, they're saying that they cannot make you happy. Okay. Now, collective, you know, somebody might argue the point, well, you shouldn't be looking for somebody else to make you happy. You know what I mean? You should already come with a certain level of happiness, right? But, you know, if somebody's adversely affecting that, you know, and sometimes intentionally and mean-spirited-ish ways, then you know it's time for Splitsville, right? And if that's so, then definitely, right? Otherwise, you know, collective, this might just be one of those things where somebody's not been in a relationship that hasn't had this kind of codependent feel to it. Okay. Okay. And that could be part of the thing that they need to heal through, right? Like, yeah. Oof. I'm hearing somebody say hit the road. So somebody definitely doesn't want to deal with this person anymore. Collective, that might be you. Yeah. And where it says they're saying their life is a mess right now. Maybe that's why, because they're tangled up with entanglements, right? Wasn't that the red table hot word of whatever year that was? Entanglement. It was an entanglement. Like, okay. Call it what it was. It was an affair. You know? Ever see An Affair to Remember? Hello. Alright. Let's see here. This is the Cosmic Insights. Okay. Mercury retrograde. Okay, so this might be why this is coming through. Them trying to communicate this about their life being kind of messy. Alright. It also says electronic issues, communication issues, review everything. So they could be also trying to communicate with you, but it's not. And it could be because they have a health issue. Or maybe they had a scare. You know what I mean? Yeah. You ever see Moonstruck? And she's like asking the guy, like, why do men cheat? You know, why do men chase women? And he's like, because they fear death. And she's like, yes, thank you. Thank you for answering my question. Olivia Dukakis's character, right? Okay. And anyway, I really liked her in that movie. She played that role well. Fire sign, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So, collective, this person saying, will this pain ever stop? I feel like this could be somebody who's a fire sign that has this kind of, or has fire in their chart where it's like, they think fondly of you. You know what I mean? Like, when they think of you, there's a little glint in their eye. Okay? And they're missing you, and that's, but so when they think of you and they can't communicate with you, well, yeah, that's a little painful, right? When I Think of You, also, a song title by JJ, right? Okay, they'll be back. So I feel like this person wants to communicate. Give it time, everything in divine timing. Let things flow. So this might be part of the you deserving better when they say choose better, choose better. Okay, well, I'm choosing better. Don't be mad because I'm choosing better, right? You know, and this says, you know, let things flow. So, you know, collective, you making better choices may not result in overnight success, right? I think is what they want to say. And that's kind of why, you know, isn't that why people give up when they go to the gym, right? And it's like, oh, well, I'm not seeing success in 1 week, therefore, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And it's like, well, you got to give it some time. You know, make a kind of commitment. And it's like, it, you know, people want to make commitments to other people, but they can't even make a commitment to a, you know what I mean, to going to the gym or to doing this or doing that that's improving in their life. You know, and it's like, well, yeah, intuition. So think about that. Communicate, compromise, forgive, work it out. So this person wants to communicate with you, but they are worried about the kind of mess that they made with you. Okay? I don't know why I just heard Geritol. I mean, I have not heard that in years. I think that was like some kind of laxative or something they used to sell. It was like a little pink pill, wasn't it? Wasn't it? I don't know. Anyway, that might be relevant for somebody. Again, health comes out. See, I think they haven't hurt me. Hopefully this person didn't actually, like, be injured by somebody that they were with. You know, but it might be more of, you know, like that emotional injury, that mental injury, okay? Health issues could arise. And right, collective, sometimes, you know, people have what they call, you know, hidden illnesses. You know what I mean? Where it doesn't necessarily manifest, you know, it's not like you're carrying your arm in a sling, right? You know, when you break your arm or whatever, right? Break a bone. So, you know, some of these health issues could be more, you know, psychological damage, emotional damage, things of that nature, where just by looking at the person you wouldn't necessarily think like, oh yeah, they're really suffering right now. Okay, open your heart. It will help you attract more love. Okay. Look at that. Open your heart. It will help you attract more love. So, collective, this might be something that you're going through and you're like, well, I've opened my heart before and look what it got me. It got me somebody who didn't want to make that commitment, right? Or vice versa. Okay, put it where it fits. Okay. So, you know, the thing is, you're not the only one who's ever gone through that, right? There are other people who have gone through that. That's why it's a collective, okay? And people that are willing to admit that that has happened, be, you know, in that place of vulnerability. You know, Brene Brown, somebody who's very famously talks about vulnerability. Some people might say that she promotes that too much. You know, there's such a thing as oversharing. You know, to me, that's more of like a millennial thing, the oversharing. Because me growing up, people didn't necessarily tell you their life story. You know what I mean? You just kind of hung out, chilled, you were doing the same thing, and maybe exchanged a few words, and see you later. You know what I mean? It wasn't like so formalized and packaged and stuff. But you know, I'm not saying that that can't work, or you know, there might not be, you know, somewhere that you can meet in the middle of that, right? Where it doesn't feel so corporate. Yeah. Like you know, like when the, you know, what movie about Louis the 14th, right? I believe, or anyway, you know, one of those scenes in the movie, you know, when they're bringing all the royal court in to watch the royal birth. I mean, can you imagine? You know, like, as if it's not enough of a spectacle today. You know how many people have to be in the birthing room. You know, so look at that on the bottom of the deck, commitment. So this person might want some commitment, collective, but maybe that I feel like right now it was something that you wanted and they weren't able, you know what I mean, with this, they can't make you happy. So, you know, they feel like even if they gave you a commitment, like, that's not going to make you happy. You know what I mean? And, you know, for some people it is. It's only signing a piece of paper, like their behavior doesn't change. You know what I mean? It's like, how were you before you got together and then after? It's like, you know, one of my exes was always like, oh, you want to leave me and go out with your friends and party, and it's like, well, you know what? I worked all week. So, yeah, I deserve to go out. Sorry you don't feel like going out. Sorry you want to be moody. You know what I mean? It's not like I was doing it every night, you know, like he was consuming every night. You know what I mean? And then when he finally got a hobby, right? Then, oh yeah, he was pounding them down, man, no problem. when he was out of the house. But, you know, me going out, meeting one of my girlfriends who also works hard. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you don't want to invite people over to your house because that means you got to clean and do all this stuff. It's just easier to meet people out, right? Social happy, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like he knew I did that before. And he even knew the person, like, we all went on vacation together and he was all buddy with my friend then, like it was no problem. But oh my God, me meeting her out for a cocktail, it was like a little baby crying ridiculously. You know, like the airplane one when everyone's like, oh God, does this mean we're going down? You know what I mean? When that thought crosses your brain. I was in one. I mean, it was like this as we were coming in, and I was like, and the kid was crying in the back, and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna make it, but and we made it. Oh my God! And when we got, and the tornado sirens were going off when we got off the plane, and it's like, well, that might have something to do with, and you know, we weren't on a big plane. It was a smaller plane. You know what they call puddle jumpers, right? Anyway. Oh my God, look, a little airplane here. How funny is that? Honeymoon. So maybe you're going somewhere, collective. Honeymoon phase, attending someone's wedding. Okay, so somebody might be getting married soon or attending someone's wedding. Okay. Oop. On the bottom of the deck, this little bee says it's not the right time. No. So, yeah. This honeymoon phase could even be like you're in a new relationship, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, come meet my family, come be my wedding date. You know what I mean? Something of that nature. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll find out. We'll see what else comes out here. I don't know how many. I got a little bit more time here. Alrighty. I feel like I just use these, but I feel like this is probably the right deck to use for this spread right now. So I will ask also, when you like the video, just as a reminder, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video, but you sure can become one, and it's 100% free to do so, right? You will never pay for these readings that are on YouTube here. This is free to watch, you know what I mean? And the only way you pay is with your time and if you have ads or not, you know what I mean? So if you happen to be a subscriber to the host platform, then you don't have the ads, right? So anyway, which I have a subscription just because I like a lot of the old movies and the retro movies that are available for free included in the subscription. So, you know, because I don't think I have Prime streaming, but I think I do have like Netflix with ads for free through my through my phone plan, which they just raised that $5 a month or something like that. Emperor. So it's like, is it really free? I mean, it just seems excessive. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, you get long distance basically included and all that stuff and whatever, right? Like the old days. We had to pay extra to have long distance plan on our landlines. Okay. Page of Pentacles, Baron Samedi. I don't know who that is, but he's definitely a page. So that might be why this person's life is a mess right now, because they're acting like a page. You know what I mean? It's like you want to act like a teenager. Well, you're going to have teenage problems. You know what I mean? So, ooh, yeah, look at that tower gargoyle. So this is something that it's like they can't get out of. That's why they're saying, will this pain ever stop? Okay, for this fire sign, 10 of Pentacles, yeah, collective. I just feel like you're in a very good position, and them acting like this. So this could be somebody who it's like they got involved with somebody, and then all of a sudden their finances are gone. All of a sudden their car's wrecked. All of a sudden they're paying for that person's car. All of a sudden they're paying for their cell phone plan. And all of a sudden, then slowly but surely it's like, they're getting complained about. Well, we never go out. We never do this. He's like, well, I'm paying for this. I'm paying for that. You're not contributing to anything, you know? And before you came along, right? It's like they didn't have those expenses. So, yeah, they were able to take you out to dinner and they were able to do this and they were able to do that, right? But it's like, it's like lifestyle creep, right? But sometimes these karmics, they do that on purpose, right? To manipulate people. We've all seen the datelines. Okay. Alrighty. All right, 9 of Swords on the bottom of the deck. So I feel like this person is feeling anxious that they're facing this tower now that they're seeing that these kind of teenage problems haven't gotten them where, where they thought that they would. Okay. 8 of Wands. Hydra here. So, yeah, collective, if you've planted the seeds, I feel like it's just a matter of time before, this stuff starts multiplying, right? Like I said, I was wearing like this earlier, like a little headband, and it felt good on my, crown there. Cooling off, because, I don't always wear a hat when I go outside, to cover my head. But, depending on where you're at, you should, especially in the summertime, especially and with the heat that we've had. 7 of Wands, the Mummy. Okay, so collective, this could be part of the Mercury retrograde where they're like trying to communicate with you, but you're wrapped up like the crab. You're like, what? I can't hear you guys. Sorry. You're like, I'm down with my pal SpongeBob under the sea. What do you think about that? You know what I mean? Eating Krabby Patties, like serving up the Krabby Patties. All right. So yeah, I'm not saying there can't be communication, but if you're feeling that energy where you don't want to, you know what I mean? And I feel like this person wants to get it started, but whether you want to or not, I feel like collective, some of the things that you're doing are more fun for you, okay, than what you were doing before, okay? Dragon here on the bottom of the deck. Four of Cups, the Ghoul card. So, yeah, these health issues may have made this person feel kind of like weak, unattractive to others. That could be why, part of the reason why they're coming back towards you, because they're like, oh, well, but when I left collective in the dust, you know what I mean? Like, maybe they'll come back and pick me up now, kind of thing. Just saying some people are like that. And it says RIP on here, so you could be saying, hey, I put the kibosh on that, a long time ago. So, but this underlying card here is saying, they have hurt me. That's why this person behaves that way. Okay. I'm not saying you have to take it back, right? A lot of people, I think, in the quest to understand why people behave the way they do, think they need to go and fix these people. And that's when you cross into the line of codependency. Right? Where it's like, it's not your responsibility to fix somebody else. They need to fix themselves. That's why, you know, there's this I can't make you happy card. Well, that goes both ways, regardless. Okay. Yes, you can do nice things for somebody. Yes, you can, you know, send them good juju or whatever. But, you know, that person has to do the work too. Okay. Look, a golden wing ship is coming my way, right? We've all heard the lyrics in that song. Well, some of us have. Anyway. Two of Pentacles. Elf. So, collective, I feel like you're very focused. And maybe that's what this person doesn't understand. Maybe when they met you, you were not as focused. So they want you to open up your heart. Maybe you're just more like business minded or something currently. You know, you're about your business. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, what else you want? What else you need to know? Ace of Cups. Look at that. The giant whale. Okay. So yeah, it's a whale of a tail, right? So again, this honeymoon, oh my God, the Swifties are probably going to be following this honeymoon, but I think they asked for privacy on it, right? It's like 3 weeks long. Can you imagine? But they're going so many places. Oh my God. So this, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, you know, emotional energy again, you know, being able to heal ourselves, not necessarily healing others all the time, not being the fixer, not being the solver, right? And I think that's why collective, this person's, you know, life is a mess right now. And that's why they're coming back around, because they're realizing like, oh, well, you made things better. And what they chose did not. You know, it's very comes down to that kind of simplistic feeling. You know, that being said, collective, is that all you want it to be? Because, you know, the page is not very, you know, it's not the Knight of Pentacles. All right. Page of Wands, Necromancer. So somebody's trying to bring something back from the dead, like a zombie relationship type thing, where it was like dead, over, you moved on, they moved on, like everyone said tee-da-lee, ha ha ha, and as far as you knew, kick the can down the road, right? You know, and the next time you met somebody, you didn't go all into talking about so-and-so and so-and-so and whatever, because what did it matter at that point? You know what I mean? Some people like to talk about all these things, and some people are like, well, what's there to say? All right. So I'm not saying that, you know, this person doesn't have feelings, and maybe it's, you know, those kind of teenage vibes. But with those teenage vibes also comes sometimes some reckless behaviors, right? It says, I want out. Yeah, they might be saying that, but are they doing that? How are their actions? You know what I mean? Where collective, you're like, I was out a long time ago. You know, like, so collective, you might be saying no to this person when they come around. I'm just saying. When they're like, oh yeah, wasn't that fun? Wasn't that this and that? And you can be telling them like, well, you know, just like it wasn't the right time for you back then, I don't feel like it's the right time for me right now, because you got all this other stuff going on. You know what I mean? You know, and I feel like collective, the way this person's acting, it's like they need a full-time babysitter. you know, and I don't feel like you're into that right now. Essentially. You know what I mean? Tell him to call Uber. You know what I mean? You're like, I. All right, I'm gonna pull. Pull some more natural cards here. Who gives a hoot? There's a whole hoot nanny. Alrighty. The moth often symbolizes transformation. Okay, so during this Mercury retrograde collective, are you going to do the thing that you always did? Okay, you know what I mean? Are you gonna, you know, be late night, you know, calling or so and so and say, oh hey, I was just thinking about you, in the hopes that they're gonna be home? Or are you gonna be like, well, maybe I should busy myself with something else? Yeah, the lion, Leo energy. I feel like collective, you're just having this confidence about yourself where you understand that you don't need this other person's energy to, you know, be who you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times, and that might be the tower that this person is facing here, where, you know, they're like, oh, I made you, blah, blah. You didn't do stuff. You didn't do not, you know what I mean? Like, I've had people say that kind of weird stuff to me before, like, oh, I discovered you doing this, you know what I mean? It's like, well, that's where you first saw me doing that, but that doesn't mean I don't have prior experience with other things. Do you know what I mean? And anyway, so it's like they just never bothered to ask. You know what I mean? It's like, that's an interesting way to look at life, that people just fall out of the sky and they never had a prior life or experience leading up to their interactions with these particular people. Like, that's a very interesting way of looking at life. But that's not reality. So it's like, wake up and smell the coffee, right? Like, what's going on with these people? Yeah, you're protected, collective, from this. I feel like you're too busy to care. Uh-huh. I heard it too. They got the, you know, residuals going off here after the 4th. The gazelle. Yeah. So even though with this 8 of wands, this hydra, it's almost like, how can you handle all this? It's like you're just kind of like gazelling on through. You know what I mean? Bear. Okay. So yeah. It's weird. As busy as you are, somebody could feel like, where you been hiding at? It's like you're in hibernation. We never see you anymore. And you're just like, I'm busy. I'm busy. You know? It's kind of funny. I was talking to one of the managers at the store, and they were asking me what my afternoon plans were, and it was like I had high hopes, but then it turned into, you know what I mean, something else once once you walk back in the door, and then it's like everything else has your attention, right? Yeah, exactly, octopus. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, I never did sit down and drink that drink. Maybe tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, rabbit, yeah. 4 of Cups. I feel like collective, somebody misses when you were scurrying around, you know, looking for that, you know, that cup that you thought was going to fulfill you here, and with this 4 of Cups. Okay. And I feel like this person now, it's like there's something in them that made them realize that they may have mistreated your companionship. Okay, but I'm just saying what's kind of behind it is like, oh, yeah. I mean, I've literally had somebody say, I don't like this version of you. I was like, okay, well, we don't really need to hang out anymore. It's like, what? Because you're expected to behave appropriately? And as an adult, like, anyway. Wow, here's the owl again. We saw that on the bottom of the deck earlier. So, use your wisdom here, collective, in this situation, because there is definitely some misunderstanding that's going on here. And this person wants you to open up your heart. And you might be being guided to open up your heart, but it may be in a way where it guides you, into a healthier, right? Blank space, anyone, right? Is that not okay? I'm just saying, it's coming through. All right, I'm not even a Swiftie. All right. Sea serpent. Yeah, you're not chasing your tail anymore, collective. You wised up. There's a song by Amy Mann also called Wise Up. And what is it in the lyrics? It says, it's not going to stop until you wise up. Lamb. Yeah, you're not being the lamb to the slaughter. No thanks. No thanks. You're taking care of the lamb. You know what I mean? So, whatever this person is saying, what they can't what is that song by Sheryl Crow? If it makes you happy, right? It can't be that bad. All right. So again, this person's saying they can't make you happy, but maybe there's something else that's making you happy, collective. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your work. Maybe it's your hobbies. Maybe it's your friends. Okay. Maybe it's your community. Things of that nature. All right. Maybe it's your pets. There's an easy one, right? Maybe it's, being able to, decorate your home the way you want. Maybe that's part of what makes you happy. Things of that nature. You know what I mean? Where it's not all wrapped up in a person, okay, who is a human being, right? That, just like that guy was saying, like, oh, what's your afternoon plans? And I had something in my mind, right? But then, you get home and it's like, oh, I got to do this, now I got to do that. And it's like, oh, okay, now it's like, well, that plan went bust, but oh well. That doesn't mean it won't happen another day, right? Or at another time, okay? Okay. All right, so collective, that is what I have for you guys. Sorry, it's kind of a wonky message, but that's just how it came through today. So I feel like it has to do with, literally this is one of the first card that came out in this spread of these, the Mercury retrograde. So consider this your current Mercury retrograde reading. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer, so I don't follow these things that closely. I just see, when certain planets and constellations are lined up and things of that nature is kind of more the stuff that I pay attention to. But if I do see something out there, I will post it in with this reading, so maybe it makes more sense. So I wouldn't necessarily consider it timeless unless you happen to be watching this during another period of Mercury retrograde. Okay, where you're like, look, I'm moving forward, and I am busy as a rabbit, but I'm doing things for myself, not, a gopher for others, right? Okay. So, and somebody else could be like, ooh, I miss having them do that for me. Ooh, well, too bad so sad. I don't know what to tell you. Find somebody else to do it. Or, better yet, hire somebody to do that. Oh, you know what I mean? Especially for people that feel like they're not appreciated, right? They'll be like, well, you can just hire that. I don't have to do that for you for free. So, anyway. So, collective. Also, I do have a donation link in the main about me and attached to the reading. However, a reminder that all readings here on YouTube are dun, 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 accessible to everybody. Okay, so there's no special gimmick that you have to follow or anything like that. So if anybody has been out there trying to convince you otherwise, just know they are an imitator and are perhaps stealing content. Okay, and I don't like to talk about this stuff very much, but unfortunately, it just seems to be really prevalent out there these days. I feel like, the internet and all these apps and everything, it's still like the Wild West of technology. If you want to be real about it. People get hacked all the time. I've heard of stories of people's devices getting hacked and weird things happening. Um, you know, so I'm just saying, right here, right now is the real deal. Okay. So again, congrats to Belgium on your victory over the U.S. team. But yeah, unfortunate for Team USA. I'm sure all of their fans would have hoped that they had gone further, because I think this means then because they were down to the round of 16. So I think this means they are out of the tournament now. And I did not catch who won the Spain-Portugal match. So I would think that would be a pretty intense rivalry, being that they are, which, I mean, Spain is really Portugal's only neighbor, right? Unless you count the Canary Islands and stuff. I mean, but that's separated by water. Like, Portugal only shares a border with Spain, and then the rest is ocean. So it's like, okay, yeah, you how many times were they like, oh, those Spaniards, right? So anyway, I'm not gonna say what I want to say, but I'm just saying, I'm sure there's been a lot of blame exchanged between those two nations. Whereas I speak more Spanish, I do not speak Portuguese, but I do understand. Somebody says that the Spain-Portugal match wasn't. So does that mean it wasn't exactly exciting? Is that what you're saying? I think it was like 1-0 or something, wasn't it? I just didn't see who ended up winning. But yeah, Belgium scored pretty early, and then before you know it, it was like 3-1. And it's like, it doesn't look good for Team USA. So Belgium was a better team today, and so all that talk about the guy that got kicked out because he got red carded and all that stuff, which I did not think it was intentional. I think he was going after the ball, but I also, I'm also an American, and I see the WNBA fist fights out there, and NHL fist fights out there, and then the drama of the NBA, right? Which those dudes don't really punch each other and stuff like that, but it'll be like, ah, you know what I mean? Anyway, so you know what I mean. Get yourself one. These are awesome, guys. Especially if you're, what I mean, sometimes you're someplace and like the air conditioning is just like it never, like, you know what I mean, or if it's just muggy and stuff, it's like sometimes it's hard to cut through the air. Mexico versus England was more eventful. I agree. I think that ended up 3-2, wasn't it? In a little bit of overtime. But yeah, I knew that was going to be I mean, Mexico loves their soccer, and England has their own league. You know what I mean? Very much like the NFL here in the United States. Like, that's their kind of, thing. So, which we have a lot more leagues. So, but that's their main I think moneymaker when it comes to sport. Anyway, over in the UK and whatnot. So, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Alrighty, I think that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for those who have already liked the video, much appreciated, and thank you to most people that were kind in the chat today. I did have to hide one person and give him a little 1-day suspension, you know what I mean? Kind of like that Team USA player. He was probably so bummed, you know what I mean? That probably knocked a little bit of the confidence out of the team, right? You know what I mean? So somebody's saying there, I hope football grows even more in the U.S. You know, I think it has, especially from the time that, like, I was in, you know, high school and stuff. Like, there, we played it in gym class. Like, now, like, almost every school has a team. You know what I mean? Or at least in the larger cities. You know what I mean? Same with baseball and softball. More schools have that, which, you know, I loved when I was younger. But the only way to do that would have been to get on one of these traveling teams, which would be very expensive. Nowadays, a lot of people do that. You had to have money to be doing that stuff when you were younger, okay? You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, some of us just knew that was not going to be in the budget. You know what I mean? We didn't go ask them for stuff like, we didn't, and this is the thing, difference between today's, you know, and how, like, me and some other people I knew grew up. Like, we didn't even ask. Okay? Because we knew the answer was probably going to be no, or we can't afford that, or how do you think you're going to, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. All right? Because, you know, how today is where parents zip them around left and right, and it's like that, you know, and I'm not saying we didn't have parental involvement, but, you know, you had to have a certain level of discretionary income, which often meant a parent also that wasn't, you know, maybe working full time or had a more flexible schedule that they could be carting these kids around, right? Or you had to have enough money that, you know, one the parents wasn't working, but if one of the parents isn't working, then how much money is coming in? You know what I mean? So again, there's just a certain level of things you had to have in line. Nowadays, it seems very common. You know, especially when I was working in the corporate world and hearing everybody talk about this stuff, it was just like constant. You know, and I think it's a good option though, especially for kids that are homeschooled and whatnot. But, you know, what we had growing up was pretty good though, you know, and all supported by the school. You know what I mean? And you know, you had your ride. They had a bus to take us where we needed to go. You know what I mean? The only problem was getting home after practice. So, you know, by the time you could drive, you know, when you had your own vehicle, it wasn't an issue. But, you know, some kids didn't have a vehicle, so, you know, they had to depend on rides, right? And I'm sure there were, you know, especially in our school, it was very small. And, you know, of course, you know, it's like, oh, well, you're on the way to here. I'm sure they could give, you know, you a ride home, right? So there was a lot of that, I think, that went on that was nice. Yes, we did spend more time outside as kids than people do today. Um, yeah, it's almost like nowadays kids are outside and people want to call the cops, and it's like, what? You know, and I'm not saying some of these teen takeover things haven't gotten out of control, but sometimes it's like, well, what are kids supposed to do? You know what I mean? Because some people want them so scheduled, right? And I get it, you know, it keeps the kids busy and stuff, but they need to learn how to be good bored, right? Not just destructive bored, right? So anyway, and you know, some of that can be done easily, and they just don't want to be doing it under their parents' roof. Like, it's, you know, some people forgot that they were kids once too. You know what I mean? It's like, didn't you ever want to get out of the house and go hang out with your friends? You know what I mean? But, you know, I don't know, maybe if you're in a larger family or something, you don't necessarily want to go out and be around different people because you're already around a bunch of people. I don't know. I don't know exactly. I'm sure there's multiple sides to that paradox. All right. Somebody says, yes, we were in the woods playing football and doing other things the whole time. Yes, exactly. Very active. Yes. The, kind of doing like the pickup, like a pickup game, yeah, playing football, basketball. Even me, I didn't have any brothers or sisters, but my parents got me a basketball hoop. So when I grew out of like twirling baton and stuff like, because otherwise when I was younger, I did dance and stuff when I was little. But even after I stopped taking baton, I would still go outside and twirl my baton sometimes just to be outside, just to be doing something. Sometimes I would shoot some hoops, you know what I mean? And it was fun. You know what I mean? It was very chill kind of upbringing. And, I wasn't really worried about stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a level of anxiety these days, but some of that is encouraged by the way that we use and consume our technology, right? But part of the reason why I do this is to kind of, yeah, I get it. There's stuff that happens, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world, right? That doesn't mean, tomorrow is another day, right? And, yes, there are things that we can do to blow off steam that are, healthy and productive and good for our spirits, right? So that's part of the reason why I tell you guys a lot, do some journaling, do some brainstorming about things that you like to do. I mean, over the summertime is the perfect time to think about that kind of stuff because you have more sunlight, it's like, oh, what am I gonna watch on TV? Because like watching TV is like a winter sport, right? you know. So just the act of jotting things down, it will help get things going in your brain to rewire in terms of something out maybe outside of the normal routine that is not say so out of the norm, but something that will give you enjoyment, like reading for leisure, right? I know a lot of us, we feel like we always got to be working, we always got to be doing something. I always got to have like, 10 other tasks on the back burner. When's the last time you just sat down and read something just for enjoyment? You know what I mean? Um, there's a reason books are so popular. There's a reason they get sold in the airports, right? Anyway. Alrighty. Until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.